Hello and welcome to this tutorial. What we're working with today is looking at some new features available in C# 4.0, and we're starting off with optional parameters. Optional parameters, what are they? Well, they enable you to assign a default value to a parameter in a method declaration, and when you call the method you then do not have to pass a value to the parameter. You simply omit the parameters you do not use. So let's look at that in a little bit more depth here. I've got here a C# console application, and we're just going to pick this apart a little bit. Now you can see down here a method declaration, method called process, and you can actually see that we've got three parameters in that method if we look at the signature here. But if I look at the last two, you may notice that in fact we've assigned a default value to the last two here. So the last two have got, in one case, at the moment, null, and in another case I've got false for my array list and my bool parameter in here. So that's my method declaration with those defaults in there. Let's look at the method calls next. So we've got three method calls to look at to start off with. First of all, I call process and I simply pass in a value for a single parameter. That's a valid call, obviously, and you can imagine what's going to happen. The foo is actually going to be passed into the first parameter, and then after that we're going to just simply assume the default values for the remaining two parameters. So that will work fine. Let's look at another call, valid call again. So what we've got here is we're passing in a first and then a second parameter this time around. Now the second parameter will match up with the second parameter in my parameter list here, and we've missed out the third parameter, so we're simply going to pull in the default value again for that. Final call we're going to look at in terms of valid calls. Now this works fine. We're passing in three parameters. There are three parameters in the declaration, so there's no defaults. We're just passing everything we need. Then we have an invalid declaration. The compiler won't like this. The reason is that we passed in something for the first value. That's not a problem, but actually for the second value we passed in an array list declared above, and the compiler is trying to match the array list against the bool, so we're going to actually end up with a type mismatch error on that. So let's run the application, actually see what happens. It's as a console application, it's going to pop up in the console window. We can see that we've had three calls to process. In each case we've written out a string there, passed in with our console.writeLine. So that's pretty much it. One of the more straightforward features, I think, in new features in C# 4.0, optional parameters. Just to summarize, process here with a declaration of three parameters. Two we provided default values for, and then we've got some calls here where we've simply omitted the parameters and they've assumed the default value in there. So that's it. I hope you found that interesting. But there are some more tutorials in this series looking at C# 4.0 new features.